We live in a world that assumes verbal speech. If you were to stop and count, you would realize that in an average day, an adult woman uses upwards of 20,000 words, 7,000 for men. That's right. Your words and how you use them have been defining you since the moment you were born, when you started building relationships, negating what you don't want, and in more basic terms, ordering your Starbucks with your words. Communication begins the moment we were born. We babble, and our mamas babble back, turning words into phrases, into sentences, into self-advocacy and intimacy. And it continues in this giant social feedback loop that gets more and more complex as we grow. But there are those among us who can't participate in that social feedback loop because their mouths, their words, their voices don't work in the traditional way. But they are communicators, just like each and every one of us. Okay, stick with me. I want you to close your eyes. And imagine you live in a world where you were dying of thirst, standing in front of a parent, and you couldn't ask for a glass of water with a word. Imagine that you needed help with a task, and you couldn't ask for help, and everyone around you just kept getting more and more frustrated that you just don't finish. Imagine that you lived in a world where you were a parent, and your child couldn't express love or connection or frustration verbally. Imagine that you lived your life with 10 words or 5. What could you not say? And how would you choose those words for yourself or for someone else? Okay, open your eyes. There is a universal bias that exists in all of us that if someone is non-speaking or non-verbal, they must have nothing important to say. And while we wouldn't want to admit that out loud, we talk over and around those in our world who are nonverbal. We speak for those who should be speaking for themselves. I want to tell you a story about a kid named Jay. Just as an aside, because this is my professional job, I'm using single initials and I'm shifting some small details. Parents are aware that their kids' stories are being shared, but anonymously. More on that later. Okay, back to Jay. So before this video that you're about to see, I had never heard Jay laugh. But if you don't have verbal speech, how can you start a game? How can you tell someone that you want a game to keep going? How can you connect with someone who wants to play with you if everything they bring out to play you hate? Watch as Jay uncovers the power of communicating and how it connects.
I'm looking for you, peekaboo. I got a bite of you. I'm gonna take a bite of you.
Can I help?
Oh, go away. Bye. Bye-bye. Take a bite of you.
It's a great job, just saying. But if you couldn't say bite, take, or go, how could you control someone else's behavior? How could you let someone know that you wanted to keep playing, right? And for Jay, this very first time he ever saw a communication device, he got it, that moment of joy, right? So AAC, augmentative communication, opens a world where every voice can be heard. Now, by definition, AAC isn't just communication devices. It can be anything from spelling to signing. But for my kids, giving them a voice allows them to participate in me talking back using their words. What more power could I give them? I want to tell you a story about a kid named E. E has a way of getting into your heart. He's got these eyes that melt you. But when things get hard, E walks away. He doesn't have any way to tell people that he's frustrated, that that puzzle doesn't make sense, that he doesn't want to string beads again, and so he just leaves. And while some people might view that walking away behavior as behavior that needs to change, for me, it's an opportunity to teach him how to connect with me. So as soon as he got his communication device, he and his mom and I sat together and decided, what in your family is it acceptable to say when everything's frustrating? And we landed on the words, "This blows." Right? I feel it. So for me, this blows became the thing that I would give to E in those moments where I knew that just stunk. I don't want to do that anymore. And we practiced it over and over and over. This blows, this blows, this blows. Until the time that I realized he really got it, when his mom came back to tell me that at Thanksgiving, the door opened and arms opened wide to give E hundreds of hugs from every family member, and he used his device to say, "This blows." Me too, E. Family holidays are hard. You see, what I am learning as I meet more and more communicators with silent voices is that communication is an essential part of what makes us people. It's what connects us to one another, right? And every person should be given an opportunity to find that, right? There's value and joy and dignity in every life, and every person needs the opportunity to be able to express that. I want to tell you a story about my friend M. M is one of my favorites. Well, there's this running joke in my office that every kid is my favorite, but M, she really is. She's got this twinkle in her eye, and she could sit and play with her toys for hours. And right after M got her communication device, she and I were sitting together playing this beautiful game when it was time to go. And M found the word mean. And I said, "Yeah, girl, it is mean. I'm so sorry." And while her mom may not have wanted to hear her call a teacher mean, what more important thing do we learn how to do than negotiate, right? And how do you negotiate until you call someone mean and hear them say mean back to you? That word mean was a turning point for her in her ability to have conversations that mattered, to negotiate, to find a way for her voice to be heard. And it only grew from there. You see, that dignity, that joy, that truth telling, that exists in all of us. And without access to communication technology for so many of my kids, they may never find it. But what I am learning, too, is that I don't have all the answers. And I'm so thankful for that. I want to tell you a story about my friend A. The very first time I met A, she and I strung beads and beads together, rainbows of necklaces and crowns, and I knew that creativity lived in A. For me, a communication device gave A the ability to have great conversations, to tell people how she felt, but it never gave her that creative ability that she had inside. I want to read you a poem written by A. Pick, choose, make a decision. Think minute, second, instant. May count being a mathematician, big, medium, very small. Understand measurement of them all. Kilometers into miles into nothing, nirvana, lost like being without blessing. Have salvation, never ending. Written by a girl with no verbal words. Who knew that poetry existed in A until she learned to spell? Throwing her communication device to the side, she started spelling single letter by single letter until poetry flowed. You see, I am thankful that I live in a world where I can be surrounded by the beauty and the truth of people like A. My truth is that I'm actually struggling with this talk. I'm struggling in telling stories that aren't mine. I want to see this stage be filled with people like J and E and M and A. I want every voice to be heard, however it can be. So there's ways that you can get involved. You could all become speech therapists. You could work to advocate that communication technology be ready and available and taught in a way that everyone could learn it. You could do research into ways that communication technology can be more accessible so that everybody can learn to speak its truth. But that's actually not the first step. The first step is to imagine. Okay, close your eyes. Imagine a world where difference is not a disability. Imagine a world where we not only presumed competence, but we presumed conversation in every person that we met. Imagine a world where we looked at each other and we didn't judge one another based on how we spoke or what we said or whether we could speak at all, but about who we are as people. Imagine that world. Open your eyes. Thank you.